In this RCM Roundup, I talk about why health information technology is an awesome career option for Gen Zs, even if they're not ready for college yet. Check it out. I just want to give a couple of shout outs. Hey, Kinjal. I'm so happy you joined us. Kinjal and I actually work together during the day. So thank you for doing overtime. And then we have LinkedIn user. Hey, LinkedIn user, we don't have your name, so we're just going to shout you out. I think so. To get back to what you were saying, Kiana, I think, yes, absolutely. Continuing education is so important. And I always like to kind of interject, especially for any young adults listening. When I started out, I did not like school. Okay. When I graduated high school, I wanted something that was quick, that I was not going to have to spend a lot of time, researching. And, I got into the field. I ended up falling in love with it. And eventually, as I grew in the field, I automatically developed a passion for learning. So, for those of you who are like about to graduate and you're not sure what you want to do, don't get scared by continuing education, because one thing you'll learn as you age and you get more, wisdom, is life is all about learning. And once you're doing something that you really love and you're really good at, you almost get excited to learn new things. So I couldn't agree with you more about continuing education. I love learning new things. Sometimes I don't even recognize myself anymore. I'm like, girl, who are you? Like, you are not the same 17-year-old who didn't like school. Okay, so I'm going to segue into my next question. What are the biggest misconceptions people have about starting a career in medical billing and coding without a college degree?
So many misconceptions. Well, the first one I would say is that you need a college degree, right? You and I both know you don't need a college degree. I didn't earn my degree until after I was working in the industry, but it's typically not required in order to hold a medical biller position or even a medical coder position. So that's one misconception. The other misconception, I'm going to speak from a medical biller standpoint, because for medical billers, prerequisites are not required. So you don't have to know medical terminology, anatomy and physiology, pharmacology, all those prerequisites that are required for the medical coders, because they are responsible for reading documentation. For medical billers, those aren't requirements. So that's like one of the most frequently asked questions I get when, I encounter aspiring medical billers. They're, concerned about the prerequisites. Also, although I highly recommend certification, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit, it's not a requirement for medical billers as well. A lot of medical billers learn on the job.
I agree with you. One of the things that I always say on our YouTube channel is it's three parts, right? It's part education, it is part on the job experience, and it's part you setting yourself up for success. Like, all of those things play a role. When I got my first billing job, my interview consisted of what is an ICD-10 code? What is a CPT code? I answered those questions and I got the job. And then I'm like in the hospital with all these different codes that were being thrown my way. But I was very proactive in making sure that I set myself up for success. And yeah, you are correct. When I started, I did not have a college degree. I didn't go to college until I was probably about 24 or 25. And I was able to start my career and do pretty well. So I agree with you 100%. And the other thing I find interesting is you mentioned that you worked at the hospital for 2 years. I also worked. When I started out at the hospital and I did my 2 years. Is that like the secret number? 2 years?
In my dream, that it's time to move on, because it's time to elevate, start making more, and
Yes.
learn other things. So after 2 years, it was time to move on.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's another tip for all of those who are interested, because I get a lot of questions or concerns from individuals who are trying to break into the field, and they want their dream job. They went to school, they had a picture of what that first job would look like, and they're not getting that first job, and they're very frustrated. And I'm constantly having to say to them, You have to consider starting out in an area that might not have been your first choice, but gets your foot in the door, with the intention of once you get it, get your foot in the door, you're then going to stay there, get your experience, and then pivot and move on to the next. So I think that that's a very wise point that you raise, a wise one.